Deputy Connolly, we'll come back.
Well done, and you're very welcome. Well done on your clear audit as well. So I have just a few general questions and then specific questions in relation to Galway. So just generally, you're the agent for the Department of Transport. You act as an agent.
Essentially, we would get most of the funding from the Exchequer via Department of Transport.
Yes, and then you get some from the tolls and some from various concession arrangements. Yeah. Okay. In terms of policy then, I'm just a little bit confused as to, because you have a role in land use planning and you liaise with the department on a regular basis. So in terms of that, what input have you on policy?
We are invited from time to time to actually comment maybe on I suppose on draft policies from the department. We will engage with them. Yeah. But essentially, all policy issues is a matter for government, is a matter for the department.
I'm just trying to clarify something. So when it comes to climate change and the policy in relation to climate change for each department, and there's an onerous responsibility on every department, what engagement have you had in relation to your section and the department on climate change?
Well, we would have had a lot of engagement, Deputy, on the National Mitigation Plan and in its development from the aspect of the transport side. Yeah. Obviously, that we had reviews on I suppose, measures that could be used, I suppose, or developed to actually mitigate emissions going into the future.
What are those views?
Well, we actually are in agreement with the department on the inputs plan. The only thing we actually would actually have a kind of alternative view on will be, I suppose, a proposal in the future to reduce the speed limit on motorways from 120 down to 110. That's something that we think that would actually be counterproductive. We would see that would undermine the business case for a lot of our major interurban network, reduce the connectivity between towns, perhaps even kind of force more people kind of maybe to go back using the road going through the villages and towns, and actually kind of increasing the emissions.
So you're in disagreement with them with the reduction in the speed?
Well, it is a proposal, so it's not one that actually has. It's one of a range of measures, I suppose, that have been posed kind of in
relation to climate change and reducing emissions.
And national mathematical emissions, yeah.
And any other specific things that you have suggested or that you have learned? I know you're only there 2 years in your amalgamated capacity.
One thing we're investing in is I suppose, a carbon tool that we would actually be able, in a position kind of, to measure kind of the carbon for, I suppose, with a pipeline of projects as it ramps up, that we will look at carbon generation and carbon emissions for each of our route options. So when we're doing optioneering for solutions to certain problems, we look at the carbon load. So we have commissioned consultants now, or a body of experts, to develop a tool that we can use to predict the carbon generated by any particular route option we would.
When were those consultants employed?
I'd say middle of next year, but in time for this.
Pardon now, sorry, they'll report in the middle of the next year?
No, we will have the carbon tool that we can use as part of our, when we're doing site selection, route selection, we can apply this as one of our criteria for our.
I get no feeling, and I could be wrong, that there's no serious analysis of the effects of climate change and the need for urgent action in policies across all departments. And so I'm asking you, it could be that you've no role, you've given me a specific role, or it might be the department, but have you regular meetings in relation to climate change and change in your policy as a result of what we're facing and the action we have to take?
We have meetings with the department on this matter, on consultations, but I think, Deputy, probably better maybe that the department would answer that question. Okay. It is a policy issue.
Okay, that's fine. So because when I look through these and I see, and I know you've learned, but when a road is tied into an increase in traffic, we look at the tunnel and I come back to the graph and it's extraordinary, and obviously you've learned from that. But when a policy is built in to increase in traffic, we're in serious trouble, aren't we? If there's a policy there that depends on increasing traffic on our roads all of the time, and if that's built into PPPs, that's difficult, isn't it? No.
I suppose the capacity of the motorway is quite a high figure. There's no connection between our desire, I suppose, to see us reaching a place where the traffic variable operation payments will reach zero, and wearing one hat on the finance side, and actually then seeing traffic levels increase. We do work closely with the NTA in developing kind of transport strategies for the various different cities.
Yes.
Very closely in that. We do, even in the development of Metro, we're looking at park and ride to try and hoover up traffic off our M1 and off M50.
I'm delighted to hear that, Mr. Nolan. I'm going to come to it. And I'm delighted, and I'm going to come back to you. But just
on Deputy, I say you're not hearing anything with regard to our concern with regard to emissions.
Yeah.
We have a lot of common strategies with the NTA and with the National Mitigation Plan, and it's not in our interest to have a huge amount of traffic on some of the network that actually is in stress. Earlier, Deputy Casals mentioned the N3 between Blanchardstown and the M50. That will reach capacity, saturation point at some stage. The next solution is not to kind of go another 4 or 5 lanes in each direction. The solution is actually an integrated transport.
Absolutely.
Policy.
Absolutely. I'm delighted I'm hearing that.
And we're not called Transport Infrastructure Ireland. It's not a national road authority.
I'm going to come to that. And I wish I had a few hours in relation to it.
Sure.
But if we look at the tunnel, the Limerick tunnel, and the guaranteed level is way beyond the medium growth of traffic and way beyond the low growth of traffic. An extraordinary graph. And that's what was bought into. When does that contract come to an end?
Am I referred to Michael Kennedy?
41, Deputy.
2041. That's some, isn't it?
Yep.
Yeah.
35-year contract. Yeah.
Yeah. And the guaranteed level, hopefully we will never reach the guaranteed level because it's way beyond anything, and it's way above the medium growth and the low growth. How could that have happened? Happened.
I can't come to you.
Yeah. All right. In relation to just specific questions, there are lots, and I know I'm going to be cut. Just in relation to payments to farmers for goodwill, is that part of your remit? The Minister, I think, signed off last year on farmers to receive so much money in goodwill payments over and above the price of the land. That has nothing to do with you? Where farmers don't go through the compulsory purchase, where they go along with you and sell the land, and then there's goodwill payments to reward them for doing that.
Yeah,
how extensive is that practice?
Deputy, TI would be through the local authorities. We would fund a lot of land acquisition.
Yes.
The goodwill payment is not tied into a landowner agreeing to sell land outside of the CPO system.
Yes.
Nearly all lands are bought through the compulsory purchase order system. The goodwill is for the cooperation of the landowners, not just post the CPO, but the landowner has to open the gate, move cattle, move sheep, provide you the lands, do investigations. So, and it's all of those costs that are rising in advances.
What's reported in one of the papers, the so-called goodwill payments are to be paid to farmers and other landowners for not obstructing the CPO process, and they entail payments. How extensive is that? Where do I see that in the reports? What would be the total payment per year, and is it made throughout the country?
I don't have the exact figures, but I'm very happy to provide those figures maybe through the committee.
But
maybe next week.
It would be an extensive practice, would it?
It is, and
So it would have happened in Galway, would it, in relation to the recently, and congratulations, it was opened before time. I'd like to have been there, but it was the middle of the week, which begs other questions. But in any event,
I can say that under the code of practice agreed between the department and ourselves, that where any landowner who met the provision, I suppose, of the goodwill provision got paid goodwill.
But that must be somewhere in your accounts, is it?
That would be no, it would not be in our accounts, because the payments will be done through local authorities.
So where does that money come from then?
That comes from the capital budget, but it would be separated out in our accounts. But we're happy to provide those figures, Deputy.
Just 1 second now. So there's a capital budget for the construction of roads
and land
and purchase of land. I see. And under that capital budget, then you'd be giving out money for goodwill.
Where it would be provided for, yes.
So, what criteria are they used, or who makes that decision?
The criteria are set out in a code of practice that has been agreed between the IFA, the department, and TII.
Okay. And what would it amount to on an annual basis?
Goodwill payment on an annual basis, I don't have the figures. It's a percentage. It's a small percentage of the overall payment to
Will you
landowners.
come back with that?
It's very absolutely.
Come back with that. Just post-project reviews, Mr. Nolan. Just, is it your decision to publish those, or is it the department now, tomorrow? Can we have them tomorrow, the ones that have been published after the 5 or 6 years?
No, they would not be available tomorrow. We would have to spend some time redacting all commercially sensitive information from the reviews.
Yeah. See, I have a difficulty with that, not with yourself, and I appreciate your answer, but we're here and there's a privatisation ongoing of everything. We had a budget with housing and millions going into the HAP payment, and then everything becomes commercially sensitive. And we're left in a position really back. We've got rid of one God that knew everything, and we've a new God of the market now that says we know best and we'll retract all the commercially and and we're left. You can appreciate that. It's difficult. And it's the amount per year that's going to PPPs is extraordinary. I mean, there's a limit been set now, I understand, of 10% of the controller might correct me if I'm wrong, is it 10% of the gross national product per year?
No, it's actually a budget spending limit on how much more commitment can be entered into, so it's specific to.
So if we go back, Mr. Nolan, you're here in a group of gentlemen and one woman. Thank you, very welcome. Gentlemen telling us that this is all very good value for money. And the ones that we see wasn't good value for money, certainly with the two that have been mentioned, the Limerick Tunnel and the other one. There are lots of questions that I'm not going to get. Who checks the traffic? Who checks? Is there an independent person looking at that? And then the very important thing, the post-project reviews, we can't have them. So is it you or is it the department that makes this decision? So let me just throw my questions. That's one very important one. The next thing is grant refunds. Why are grants being refunded? Am I missing something? This is a grant refund from the local authorities, is it? You might clarify that. Clarify the VAT, which was a successful judgment. Isn't that right? Which it allows you more money. Is that retrospective? Have you checked that? What's the status of that? And finally, the Mycullen bypass. There's a whole list. Maybe I'll come back in afterwards. I come back in. Those three are enough that I've asked, and I come back in. Yeah. So the publication of the reports, the grants.
The refund. Okay. The publication reports, we would have to redact commercially sensitive information from those post-budget reviews. Secondly, then on the refunds from local authorities. From year to year, local authorities, if they sell lands, as you just mentioned earlier, that money gets remitted back to TII because the money would have been provided by the state in the first place. If some expenditure does not accrue, or that the local authority, in some way, that the commitments don't appear to be as large as originally envisaged, the money comes back to ourselves. So we make provisions, say, for something, and that's when we do the final settlement. We find that there's money due back from the allocation, so that money gets remitted back to ourselves. So in the main, most of the land refunds will got to do land acquisition and land disposal. Okay. So
the VAT.
And on the VAT, yes, with regard to whether we are owed a rebate, we are, and we are in discussion with revenue on that
retrospectively,
matter.
Come back.
Retrospectively.
What period of time will be involved?
Since the time when 2010.
2010.
Yeah.
Okay, and that you're under talks about that, is it?
We're in talks with revenue on that.
When will that be completed?
I can't give an answer on that. We don't know.
Okay, come back to it. Thanks. Thank you.
I know we've gone.